Hi, it's Mark Graban. Welcome to Lean Blog Audio. Today, I am reading a post that I published on August 19th, 2024. It's titled, "We've Stopped Punishing People for Mistakes. Now What?" To read the blog post, to share it, you can look for a link in the show notes or go to leanblog.org/audio 395. Here's the post. In many organizations, moving away from a culture of punishment when mistakes are made is a significant leap forward. It signals a shift toward understanding, systems thinking, and improvement. But once you've made that change, what's next? Do we need to replace punitive approaches with something better? Well, sure. If so, what? How do you ensure that your new approach leads to meaningful learning and continuous improvement? So the first step is moving away from punishment. For far too long, punitive approaches to mistakes have been the norm in many workplaces. This approach is rooted in the belief that the fear of punishment or punishment itself will prevent mistakes. However, as I discuss in my book, The Mistakes That Make Us, fear actually causes more harm than good. When people are afraid to speak up, errors are hidden and systemic problems remain unsolved. This kind of culture doesn't just stifle innovation, it also creates an environment where employees feel disengaged and undervalued. When you stop punishing people for mistakes, that's a crucial first step. But it's not enough. Again, the question becomes, what should we do? What should we do next to foster a culture that truly embraces learning and improvement? So let's talk about the pitfalls of being nice. After abandoning punitive measures, the next instinct might be to simply be nice about mistakes. This often means downplaying errors or offering gentle reassurances without much follow-up. Nice is about not wanting to make another person feel bad. While being nice is certainly an improvement over punitive, it feels better, it doesn't necessarily lead to the deep continuous learning that organizations need. In The Mistakes That Make Us, I share that being nice can sometimes be a way to avoid difficult conversations. However, avoiding these conversations means missing out on opportunities to learn and grow. If mistakes are glossed over or treated too lightly, the underlying causes remain unaddressed, allowing problems to persist. Mistakes are going to be repeated. So if being nice isn't the answer, what is? And I give all the credit in the world to my friend Karen Ross for helping me understand this. The next step is embracing kindness. The real solution is moving from being nice to being kind. Kindness in this context is about addressing mistakes with empathy and a commitment to improvement. It's about having open, honest discussions that focus on learning and preventing future errors rather than just smoothing things over. If nice is about not making others feel bad, kind is about being helpful and constructive. As I wrote about in The Mistakes That Make Us, the most important lesson might be that the right culture is one where people are comfortable admitting mistakes because they know they'll be treated with kindness instead of blame. And this quote highlights the essence of what it means to be kind in the workplace, cultivating an environment where people can feel safe discussing mistakes openly and constructively. We could call this psychological safety, this ability to speak up. Now, kindness doesn't mean avoiding tough conversations. It means approaching them with a mindset that values learning over blame. In a kind culture, mistakes are seen as opportunities to gather valuable insights and to improve systems. This approach fosters trust, collaboration, and a genuine commitment to continuous improvement. I'll point you, as I do in the blog post, to my podcast with Karen Ross in the Lean Blog Interviews series, where we talk about her book, The Kind Leader. So let's talk about survey results. When speaking about these topics, I like to do live polling of the audience using a tool called Mentimeter. At a recent Lean conference, I asked one group of attendees, they were from different organizations, different industries, to say what the most likely response to mistakes was in their organization. And the distribution of results is very typical of other mixed groups that I've surveyed. I asked, what's the most likely reaction to mistakes in your workplace? 4 said punitive, 12 said nice, and 12 said kind. And I gave these definitions of nice versus kind to the audience. Now, thankfully, there weren't too many responses that said they expected punitive measures. I mean, at 4 out of 28, about 15%, but it's sad and unfortunate to see any. Another event I surveyed had a bell curve distribution where 7 said punitive, 17 said nice, and 7 said kind. There's a need there to help shift from nice to kind. Now, when I asked the team at KaiNexus to answer the same question, it's the only time so far that I've seen 0 punitive votes. So we had 0 people saying punitive, we had 13 saying nice, and we had 31 saying kind. This was anonymous polling, and I don't think people would have felt pressured to give responses they thought management wanted to see. When we've done broader psychological safety surveys in the past, KaiNexus has scored as a whole at the 80th percentile. So I think there's a good culture in place, but it's admittedly not perfect. But it's still good to see more kind reactions, or the expectation of that based on what people are experiencing, more kindness than niceness, and no punitive responses. So how do we cultivate a kind culture? Now that you've moved away from punishment and understand the importance of kindness over niceness, how do you cultivate this in your organization? Here's some practical steps. 1, encourage open communication. Make it clear that mistakes are opportunities for learning, not grounds for blame. Foster an environment where employees feel safe to speak up about errors. 2, practice constructive feedback. When addressing mistakes, focus on the process, not the person. Ask, what can we learn from this, and how can we improve our systems to prevent this mistake in the future? 3, lead by example. Leaders should model the kind behaviors they want to see from others. This includes being kind to yourself. Show kindness in your response to mistakes, reinforcing that continuous improvement is a shared responsibility. And again, that starts with being kind to yourself and then also being kind to others. 4, foster collaboration. Encourage teams to work together to solve problems. Collaborative problem solving leads to better solutions and a stronger sense of shared purpose. And 5, celebrate learning. When a mistake leads to positive change, celebrate that outcome. Recognize the team's effort to learn and grow, reinforcing the value of a kind approach to mistakes. So in conclusion, moving forward with kindness. So you've stopped punishing people for mistakes. The next step is to ensure that you're not just being nice, but truly kind. Kindness in the workplace involves addressing mistakes in a way that promotes learning and improvement. It's about creating a culture where people feel safe to admit errors and are motivated to collaborate on solutions. As I emphasize in The Mistakes That Make Us, shifting from a punitive culture to one rooted in kindness can really help transform your organization. It leads to more engaged, empowered, and satisfied employees who are more committed to continuous improvement. Now that you've stopped punishing mistakes, what's next? Lead with kindness and watch your organization and your people thrive. If you'd like to read the blog post, if you want to share it with others, find the link to Karen Ross's podcast and more. Look for a link in the show notes or go to leanblog.org/audio395. Thanks for listening.